afternoon. My name is Graciela Broqua. I'm a music therapist from Argentina. I'm a music therapist from the University of Buenos Aires, one of the 7 bachelors in music therapy we have in Argentina. I am professor of higher teaching. I teach at the University of Buenos Aires also. And I have a master's degree in educational technology. I'm member of the Communication Commission of the Latin American Music Therapy Committee, what we know as CLAM. I'm evaluator of articles of the scientific magazine Anuario de Investigaciones of the School of Psychology of the University of Buenos Aires. And I am author of the book Accessible Music with Assistive Technology, which in fact is in Spanish because I'm from Argentina. First of all, I'd like to say that the family of this patient authorized to disclose the information for academic purposes without exposing his name and his personal data. And although I have the authorization for taking him photographs and videos, my position, my ethical position, is that I decided not to show his face because it's not necessary to expose him. So I'm going to show you photographs only of the parts we need to show or we need to understand. Well, let's talk about tracheotomy. Tracheotomy is a hole surgically made at the base of the neck due to some difficulty in the upper airway. This hole sometimes is permanent and sometimes not. In this case, the tracheotomy is permanent, so he is going to breathe through this hole his whole life. People with tracheotomies could find barriers to produce voice and to play with instruments because they breathe through this hole, not through the nose and through the mouth. So the air never passes through the vocal cords. That's why if he wants to produce voice, he needs some special product. In this case, I'm going to talk about, this is a 14-year-old boy with multiple disabilities, with cerebral palsy, severe, very severe, with complex communication needs, that in his case, it means that he doesn't speak, and he understands only a few words of our verbal language. His name, names of members of his family, and some verbs. And he has a permanent tracheotomy. So, he's never going to be able to produce voice naturally. And in this process, he was in music therapy treatment, but his pulmonologist said that he should control the force and duration of his breathing. I told you he is very severe, so he cannot understand orders, just do this or do that. So it's not easy to work about something so complex for him. So this objective, to control the force and duration of his breathing, was added to the usual goals that we were working on in music therapy. The usual goals were about communication and about tolerance of different kinds of music. So we work on that, and we added with this new goal, new objective. So we didn't use the whole session to work on this, just a few minutes of a session. Our sessions last 45 minutes once a week. So he require assistive technology. When we talked about assistive technology, we talked about technical aids, in this case a support product that I made, and I'm going to show you how I did it, to to perform a task that the person cannot achieve because of a barrier. In this case, the action he couldn't do was to produce sound with any wind instrument. So, what did I do? First of all, this is very important. During the music therapy sessions, his personal nurse, remained in the institution outside the office. So, she was not inside the session, but if I needed something, I just opened the door and called her. This is very important. We are talking about breathing, and if something happens, perhaps she needs to use, I don't know how you call it, we use the same word as a vacuum cleaner, to aspirate the secretions. I don't know the word in English.
Suction device.
Okay. So if I needed that, she was there. Well, I told you he could not produce voice, and this is the device he needed to produce voice. This is a speaking valve. The speaking valve is a support product of assistive technology, but it's a support product of high technology. It means that its complexity defines this object as something that we cannot produce. I cannot build a speaking valve. This is something that the doctor should indicate, and the doctor did not indicate a speaking valve for this boy, because at that moment it was not recommended due to his copious secretions. So it was dangerous. Why? Because the speaking valve closes the hole, and at that moment the air goes through the vocal cords. But if we added secretions, this hole is going to keep closed, and he is not going to breathe. So it was dangerous. That's why at that moment the doctor decided not to recommend it. So I chose a plastic recorder. Remember, I had to work about respiration. Why a plastic recorder? Because it sounds with a very weak sound. It's not a trumpet or a tuba. Because it's light. Because I had to insert this in the cannula of the tracheotomy. The cannula is a thin tube. So if it's heavy, it can be dangerous to the cannula. And we can disassemble and submerge it, the recorder, into water and bleach. So I indicated the family how to disinfect it, and they did it at home. And the most important part is that the recorder must be absolutely dry at the moment he's going to play. Because if there are little drops inside the tube of the recorder, he's going to inhale those drops, and those drops are going to the lungs directly, and he is going to have a pneumonia or something. So these details are very, very important. So what did I do? I had a disposable glove, a latex disposable glove. It's important to say that this boy is not allergic to latex, and that his family and his nurses work at home with this kind of material. So this is a support product of low technology. This means that it's easy to do, that anyone can do it. I can do it, and his family can do it at home, and this is cheap. This is very important in Argentina, because sometimes treatments find barriers because of the costs. So we cut a finger from from the latex disposed of the glove, and we made a latex cylinder, yes, with the latex. So, after that, I inserted the tracheostomy filter in the latex cylinder. The tracheostomy filter is something that we attach or we plug in the cannula. Its purpose is to filter the air. Okay? But the filters he usually used had another shape. So it had a cylinder in a horizontal way, and I needed a different way to assemble with the mouth. That's why his mother offered me this filter that he didn't use anymore. So this filter became part of his support product. So we inserted the tracheostomy filter in it. Sometimes I needed this rubber band to fix it. And after that, I inserted the mouthpiece in the other part of the latex, in the other end of the latex cylinder. After that, we attached this support product to his cannula. It's like a plug. And at that moment, he played with each exhalation. This is important. This is not a voluntary movement. He just breathes, and now he breathes with sound. Okay? This is something that he cannot decide to do or not to do. And when he could blow, I forgot to say something. I disassembled the recorder, and at the beginning he only used the first section. When he was prepared to blow harder, I assembled the recorder, and he could produce the sound. And he played the assembled recorder with his exhalation. Well, after that, another thing. The mobility of his upper limbs was reduced. I told you he's very severe. So, I covered holes in the recorder with adhesive tape to play just one note. Remember, he's very severe. So, it was not possible for him to make a rhythm or to move his fingers to cover the holes. So, I just chose the note I needed for the song we were going to play. After that, I changed the place, and we played another. He played another note. I told you he didn't speak, so he chose a song using his augmentative alternative communication system that he had worked before with his speech and hearing therapist, and we worked together with this system. So these are the musicians he liked most. We listened to the song, or sometimes I played the song with the guitar, for example, changing the tempo and the intensity, two characteristics that he could change. So there is another factor that could be possible, is that he could decide when to stop a little and do a little silence. But the results showed me that he didn't do that. So, when he wanted to finish the song, because we finished the song, or because he didn't want to play anymore, he used to pull the recorder off. Sometimes at that moment, the latex usually broke. So I tried with another material, which is latex, but a thicker kind of latex, using cleaning gloves. But there was a problem. he put at the end of the song, it was tight and the cannula was in danger to be removed. So we alternated between both latex, and after that I decided to use only the disposable gloves, just for safe. The results. He could voluntarily modify the duration and the intensity of the sounds. The first sessions, he could only play soft, like a whisper, very long sounds. At the end of the same session, he increased the intensity a bit and reduced the duration a bit, slightly. We were working with this 3 years. Both of those years, two of those years, were in pandemia. So his mother helped a lot. She's a singer, and she was happy his son was playing something. So he managed to increase and decrease both parameters, intensity and duration, several times in the same song. So at that moment, we were playing together. His mother showed a video to the doctor, and the doctor was so happy because she never thought that it was possible to work this with this kind of severity. So, well, I can say that music therapists can make some latex support products so that the patient can play. The importance of this is I just did the support product, and at the moment he produced sound. It was not something, it was not an effort for him. And up to that moment, or from that moment, he could begin to produce something different. So, I invite you to do with your patients the same. Take care, take into account the recommendations, but think that this is indicated only when therapeutic objectives suggested by the doctor require the management of the breathing, because perhaps it's not the best. I did this with another patient, and in one case, it was 15 years old, I did it, he produced sound, but he didn't show any emotion because he was playing, so we didn't do anything with that. Just tried, he could play, and then he chose another instrument. And now I'm doing this with another boy. He's 8 years old, but several times when we plug the support product, the secretions cover the hole and inside the filter. So we just unplug it, and we decided to do something else. When he's ready, we try again. In this last case, the boy asked for a flute with this augmentative and alternative communication system. He asked for a flute for his birthday. So in this case, I should go back to the flute, to the recorder in another moment. So these are the references. These are few, but I like to say that the book, well, it's in Spanish, I told you, Música Accesible con Tecnología Asistiva, is a book that has lots of solutions of different barriers that appear in different cases of disabilities connected with activities with music. So there are pictures and models in order to do ourselves, our our own place for products. And so, thank you for being here. These are my contacts. If you have it in your tables, there are some cards with my contacts again. If there are not enough, I have cards here. And I hear you if you want any question.
I'm sorry, you mentioned it at the beginning, but I didn't catch up. How could you breathe if he had this airflow in the home?
The flute, sorry, in Spanish is flauta. The recorder is a tube,
Yes.
which is absolutely free
So
inside.
it was breathing in through the recorder.
Yes,
Okay,
that's why it's so important to disinfect it. Because if we play the recorder, we can breathe through our nose or our mouth, and after that we exhale through the recorder. But in this case, it inhales and exhales through the same recorder. So it's important to disinfect it after we use it. Yes. He's not in case of realizing if he's playing one note or another note. He chooses songs. At the beginning of the treatment, 5 years ago, he was sent to music therapy because his problem was that he wanted to listen to the same music every single moment of every day of the day. It didn't matter where he was. So it was his tolerance was so little that it was a problem for the family, a problem for the person who worked in education with him. So he knows what he wants to hear or what he wants we sing. He's very clear. The musicians he wants are very clear for him. So he just moved a little finger of his right arm, his right hand, and he points to the photographs. We showed him 3 or 4 in the same line, and he moves his hand.
Along with that, I know that you suggested that he couldn't express if you wanted to change the pitch, but with a recorder, depending on the pressure that you put, it might change with that first segment. It might change the pitch by itself, right?
Yes, well,
so it can.
It's hard for him.
Yeah.
That.
Has he reached that point where he might be able to change the pitch a bit depending on?
Well, no, he not at that moment. After that, this year he had a surgery, so there are 3 months in which I didn't see him. So I hope when I go back to Argentina, he's ready for going on.
And was he able to realize that he could exhale, he could manage the rhythm?
No, but he changed the duration, so I hope perhaps it's a possibility. I don't know if next year or 2 years later. In Argentina, disabled people had a certificate, and the government covers with this certificate the treatments for his or her entire life. So we don't have a limit for the treatment. And usually when other therapists or when the doctor send a patient, so severe patient, to music therapy, at least in my institution, it's because that patient already did lots of therapies, and the therapists
Yeah, they refer.
cannot
like,
do anymore.
Yeah.
But they don't know what to do.
They don't know what to do.
So they refer to music
So
therapy.
that's resort.
Yes, some of them say, "I'm sorry, I'm going to send you a patient." But so I know our treatments could be very, very long.
Hopefully in the future, because it'd be so great if you can use that as a means of expression, no? If you can start like having some agency that some people use it, it's so great.
Yes.
It would be great if you can mix with MIDI.
Yes, there are lots of things,
Yeah.
but well, it depends on what we want to reach, which is our goal. So, well, any other question? Okay, so thank you.